You know, sometimes when you meet someone new, you never know where things will lead. And in the case of today's adventure in South Dakota for a whitetail bow hunt, it all came together by a chance meeting with Blake Hoffman, a die-hard whitetail bow hunter. Ready to go on our South Dakota hunt. Young Blake is a man I met at ATA last year. I just really liked him. He was a hardcore fan of the show. Talked to me about great bow hunting that those guys have got out here. Would I want to come out and hunt with them? I said, sure, why not? Here we are, I'm excited.
I was walking through the hotel lobby and Babe happened to be walking towards me, so I stopped him and just kind of introduced myself and said I was a huge fan and been watching his show since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, and basically just got to talking about deer hunting, and we ended up talking about some of the possibilities we had out here in South Dakota, and I said he's more than welcome to come out anytime he wants.
Of course, I accepted his gracious invitation to get out to know him better and to hunt some of his prime South Dakota whitetail real estate. I mean, some seriously big bucks are taken each year from this area, and what could be better than getting to know a new friend while hunting? So after first arriving, we both set up in blinds, hoping for the bucks to funnel through the separate areas we were hunting. Oh yeah, both of us most definitely had our share of sightings. I was immediately immersed in everything going on around me, but in the beginning we saw nothing that either of us wanted to draw back on. It was a little further into the hunt that Blake decided on a radical change in technique. So while I stayed on the stand, he set out to conquer a monster on foot with spot and stock, and that's what I'm so eager to show you first today.
Close friend and kind of my eyes on a lot of the property around here says he's come across a nice whitetail bedded down. It's going to be a little bit difficult. We don't have a perfect game plan yet because he's actually in a spot where we got to drive by him at about 80 yards to get around to where we can start to make a stock. So it's going to be a little bit of an interesting scenario, but we're going to give it a shot, get some eyes on him, and hopefully once we get on the backside of him where we can put a stock on, we're going to talk about our game plan a little bit more. So going to kind of hopefully get a little bit of a look at him, but then we're going to put our game plan together and might have a chance at a stock on him. So should be interesting.
I was going to say, we got to find a draw up along one of the hills and get up on top and look down.
We found the buck and a doe bedded down off of a fairly traveled gravel road, and we knew that we had to kind of get around them and come in from a different way to take advantage of the wind, and when we got around we saw that the terrain was just working perfect for us, so we kind of followed that terrain feature and worked along a ridge and got up within 50 yards of them very easily, and then it was just about scooching in a little bit more and getting close enough to get a shot on them, and the rest was just wild.
We found some perfect terrain that leads right up to give us some eyes on them. And there's a really nice draw that runs in that gets us to what looks to be within 50 yards. And then if I can kind of sneak around that, we can get closer to that. So the effort's going to be to try and follow that natural draw and follow some of the sharp hills that we've got running right up into them. And hopefully we get a chance to put a shot on him. He is a beautiful buck. I think if I get to that, if I can get behind that rock, and that's where I'm going to start to really slow crawl, creep over top of that hill. If I judged it right from back there when we got a glass on him, that's close enough. So that's going to be my goal. And I'm going to try and use those rocks to kind of sneak up and at least verify. And if he's in the range that I'm hoping he's at right at that point, I'm going to take that shot.
Managed to get up, stood there forever and didn't give me a shot opportunity, and I was holding back. And by the time he finally noticed that I was standing there, he decides that I'm a threat and comes right at me.
Continuing now out in South Dakota on our bow hunt with landowner and new friend Blake Hoffman, his stalking mission continues with, shall I say, a few twists and turns. Watch this, my friends.
In the last part of my stalk, I left my arrows behind. Got some exciting footage of watching him come right into me. I was holding back too long and shouldn't have taken the shot. The arrow goes over his back, and he managed to just decide to stick around and walk around me in circles, basically. So I had plenty of other shot opportunities and no arrows in my hands. So that was frustrating. Kind of lost the happy ending to that stalk, but it was still exciting as can be. My heart was going the whole time. So we had a lot of fun on that one.
And then you have it, the buck and the doe standing right there, walking around him, sometimes less than 20 yards from him. What a rush for Blake, and at the same time, something he never will forget. That's when you have a good hunt.
If you're going to get an opportunity to shoot at a deer, make sure you got a second arrow if you miss that first one, because there was no predicting what could have come out of that. During the rut, you should just be prepared, because anything can happen.
So this morning we're kind of taking a little bit different approach. When we got here, the does were kind of sitting all the way around our tree stand, so we really had no way of getting in there without spooking. So we kind of sat back and let them go out to feed, and now we're going to try and catch them when they come back into the trees after getting some chance to feed. So we'll see how that pans out. Oh, there's a really nice buck over there, up to the east. Oh, he's really, really good. Couple of does. He's been chasing them. If those does come our way, that'll help, but... That is a nice deer.
We watched him chase some does and chase some other bucks away, and I knew that if he came to the trees, we'd have a shooter. And he really just broke away from the pack, and he kind of decided to leave the does behind and come towards the trees. And I told Kevin, I said, we got him coming in, and he's coming on his own. I'm not seeing the does with him. He's just deciding to wander to the trees. So let's be ready. I think he's going to come this way. And it took a long time between when we lost sight of him getting to the trees. He's got about 500 yards of trees there to cover, and it took him a while to get there. But when I saw him, I was almost lost my composure. I said, here he is, he's coming up the trees.
All right, he's coming in. He's only about 80 yards out now. I thought those does were going to screw that up big game. They were coming in from behind him. He had been chasing them around off to the side. He just kind of let them go, and he left them, and he come in ahead of them. And I thought he kind of made us. He was staring right at us for, I bet 10 seconds, 20 seconds, I don't even know. But he just took his eyes off us, walked out, and he just gave me an absolutely perfect shot. And he is dead where he stood. Oh my God. Oh my God. You gotta be kidding me.
This seems so surreal. Just a chance run in with Babe Winkelman and an invite to come out to South Dakota and hunt whitetail, and here we are. We've had amazing time the whole week. We've been seeing deer, we've been chasing deer, they've been chasing does, and all of it together just seems like too much. It's been amazing just meeting Babe. We've had a fantastic time. The entire group has just gotten along so well, and we've had a blast. But to get one on the ground on the last day so that we didn't waste that opportunity is just incredible. I couldn't be happier. Such an interesting buck, and we haven't seen this guy all week. This is the first time we come across him, and he just happened to be trailing in some does kind of with him, but he gave the perfect opportunity, and luckily we took advantage. Unbelievable. It's just too much for words. I love it. The only thing that's going to make this better is if we find out that Babe just dropped one dead on his last day too. So we'll wait to hear from those guys, and hopefully they got something on the ground, and it would just turn this into an amazing, amazing week. Just excited. Psyched. Headed back to the truck to grab the EV. I'm gonna swing by and pick up a good buddy of mine that's gonna help us drag the deer out and get her back to the truck. So. Straight inside of here. The ladder stands right there, and he's just about even with it. Third row in. Oh yeah, man. You bet. Thank you. Thank you.
This is a block of wood. It's the biggest block of trees in this whole area that we can see. We're down on the southeast corner of it with a super strong northwest wind coming in. I don't know if they're going to bed up on this end or if they're going to come down and mingle through here, but we're hoping. Guess that's about all we can do is hope, because we sure ain't going to chase them down.
Sit after sit, I kept seeing deer, which from a ground blind or tree stand can always keep me deeply amused. There's nothing better than just having the chance to watch deer in their natural habitat and trying one's hardest to get them in close. It's all such good practice for when the one you actually want steps out and starts heading your way.
Now what we gotta find is what beat the crap out of those two. One guy's lost half his rack, the other one's limping. And they were posturing over there, and Big Boy working his licking branch. That was a big old deer. That was a 3.5 or 4.5-year-old buck. Even though he didn't have a lot of rack left to him, everything was broken out. One old side was broken, the other side was broken some too. But again, we're bringing them right in here. I've brought all those deer in with either grunt calls or doe plates. Most with the grunt call.
This 3.5-year-old buck is certainly decent. Nope. I'm holding out.
He had shot opportunity after shot opportunity on some of those bucks, but he held his composure and waited out for what he was hoping for, and we just couldn't get him to come through. So
ultimately, I had my eye on one of the two 4.5-year-old bucks that I'd gotten a look at over the course of my hunt, but never came close. Unfortunately, they weren't playing my game, because neither one of them ever presented themselves again. And those, as they say, are the breaks. I guess another way of putting it is to simply say the obvious. Big bucks can be very difficult to come by, even in the parts of the country where the giants are there to be found, and there's never any guarantees. And that, my friends, is why they call it hunting. My hat's off to Blake Hoffman for inviting me out to where he hunts in South Dakota last fall. It's a very special, selfless thing when someone lets you in when they themselves are such passionate, avid hunters. More than anything, though, before we go, because of the rarity and excitement of it all, let's take one last look at an encapsulated version of Blake's incredible stock.
in the last part of my stock, I left my arrows behind. Got some exciting footage of watching him come right into me. I was holding back too long and shouldn't have taken the shot. The arrow goes over his back, and he managed to just decide to stick around and walk around me in circles, basically. So I had plenty of other shot opportunities and no arrows in my hands. It was still exciting as can be. My heart was going the whole time, so we had a lot of fun on that one. And if you're gonna get an opportunity to shoot at a deer, make sure you got a second arrow if you missed that first one, because there was no predicting what could have come out of that. During the rut, you should just be prepared, because anything could happen. So one of the biggest helps on this hunt was a good buddy of mine, a close friend since we were just in grade school, Aaron Kappas. You see him in some of the shots and helping me out a couple times, but behind the scenes he did so much more than that. Aaron's my eyes and ears on the ground. I don't get to spend as much time up in this country as I used to, and he just keeps the pulse on all the deer action, and he really makes all this stuff come together.
Enough said, other than to thank you all for watching today and to wish each and every one of you good luck with whatever kinds of upcoming hunts that you have planned for this fall. I hope today's adventure somehow helped to whet your appetite and maybe make you look forward to them even a little more. I'm Babe Winkelman. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, everybody, hey, good hunting.